Going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here. We are live back with another Tottenham update. Hope you guys are all doing well out there in the chat, in the footballing world. It is an exciting time. Thomas Frank has been appointed. It's a new era upon us at Tottenham Hotspur, and there is potential hijacks upon us. Ben is not with us today. Unfortunately, he has got other plans. Something better to do, apparently, Ben's got. But we have the brilliant, the Frankaholic himself, Mr. Bryan Dale, in the house to talk about all things Tottenham that are happening today. How are we doing today, Bryan?
Wonderful. I hope you are and everyone in the chat. What a hijack. What a hijack straight out the gate.
We could be seeing the first evidence of Frank pull, the Frank gravitational pull. You can't resist it. And we're going to get into all of that. We're going to get into all of that in a moment. Hope everyone is doing very, very well in the chat. And I guess we'll get into the big breaking news at the moment in regards to Bryan Mbuemo. A lot of chat about Bryan Mbuemo today, Bryan. And the news is coming from Sky Sports News. Bryan Mbuemo, Tottenham have held initial discussions with Brentford about a deal for Bryan Mbuemo. Mbuemo is understood to be more intrigued by a move to Tottenham now that Thomas Frank has become their head coach. Tottenham have received encouragement about a potential deal now that the Dane has made the switch to North London. Football Insider are saying Tottenham remain in competition to hijack Man United's move for Brentford's forward Bryan Mbuemo. And TBR Football's own Graham Bailey says TBR Football can confirm that Tottenham could still have a chance of signing Bryan Mbeumo ahead of Man United. Mbuemo is known to be very happy in London, but United still regarded as the favourites to land him. That could be absolutely massive news. I was saying to Ben yesterday, it's gone suspiciously quiet with Bryan Mbeumo and Man United. We heard about 10 days ago now that Mbuemo's chosen Man United. That's his preferred choice. David Ornstein with a big bomber saying, he's pretty much he's heading to United. Man United fans were doing live streams celebrating that they've got Mbuemo. But ever since that confirmation of that story, we've not heard much. We've had a few stories about personal terms. Yeah, and now, with 10 days after that, we've gone very, very quiet with Mbuemo to Man United. Frank has been appointed at Tottenham as of yesterday. And now we're hearing stories that Mbuemo is looking at that Tottenham project with Frank at the helm, thinking, maybe I shouldn't rule that out completely. What do you think, Bryan?
Well, there's a few things to unpack here. First of all, you mentioned yesterday with Darren Lewis putting the eyes on his tweet, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Saying that happened during you were live yesterday. And then I think we spoke a few times in the late night shows you're doing when we were trying to weigh up what's the bigger pull from going to Manchester United, which he claims to be a supporter as a youngster, or moving across London with the manager that has made you the player you are. And there's going to be a lot of people, and I understand it, with people saying we're not going to get him, this is Tottenham and Daniel Levy, and it's always the grey cloud. But as we've been saying, the board members have changed. Maybe something is going on at Tottenham and they will be making a statement signing. Still a long way to go in this, but this would be a massive, massive statement signing for Tottenham, taking him away from Manchester United, one thing. And second of all, showing that Thomas Frank has brought in his, what you would imagine is his number one. It's big news. I think there is some weight to it. Now, seeing that Sky Sports is all over it as well, there's something in it. Now it's just a wait and see. But if he does sign, that is a massive step in the right direction for Tottenham Hotspur, and it will put more fuel on the fire that maybe something higher up is really going to be changing very, very soon. So we'll have to wait and see. But my God, would he be good in this Tottenham side?
Absolutely unbelievable. What's quite interesting, I feel, about this story in regards to the fact that it's Sky Sports reporting it. It's Sky Sports, I think, if people have been paying attention to kind of the football transferring world in the last, decade, I would say maybe half a decade,
Yep.
Sky actually rarely break stories anymore. Usually they're the ones jumping off the back of other journalists who report things, and then they're the ones who like confirm stories. They are calling this an exclusive, and one of their journalists is the one who's broken this story, essentially. So that has happened kind of gives me a bit more hope that maybe there's something really serious about this, and maybe there is really something to it. In fact, as well, Graham Bailey says he's very happy in London in Mbuemo. You know, does he want to move to Manchester? Or, of course, he's a Man United fan from young. That's what's been reported. But if you're talking about his career, he's got a chance to be on the Champions League stage immediately. However good Man United might be next season, there's no guarantee they'll be in the Champions League even next season, let alone, obviously, definitely not this season. There's no guarantee they're going to be in there next season. He's got a chance to be with a manager who knows how to get the best out of him. He's gotten where he is at the moment in terms of now he's a Premier League forward who gets regularly at least 15, 20 goals last season, and probably gets more, knows how to get the best out of him. He knows when he looks at Tottenham team, there's a spot for him right there on that right wing where he's going to fit very, very nicely. I know Brennan Johnson scored a lot of goals, but and Mbuemo, I think, will fancy his chances, to say the least, to have that spot. He's going to have the platform of being in the Champions League immediately. And he's going to come to a club, still a pretty big-sized club who got a lovely stadium. Still, you can remain in London, and you get on well with the manager. So there is a lot of going for us, I would say, in this deal. Now, obviously, going against us, will Man United offer more money in the wage packet? He's a Man United fan. Obviously, an opportunity to kind of be part of that story where he takes Man United from where they are back to the top, all that kind of stuff. Ruben Amorim's formation, does that really suit him? Yeah, I think those are obviously things going against us, and Graham Bailey claims that Man United are still the favourites. But, I mean, there's a lot going for us in this deal, isn't it, Brian? Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the lure of London and him being settled in London is always a big thing we say for players. Thomas Frank is a massive pull for him, which is great to see that, and that's made him have maybe a change of heart. And what you mentioned as well with Brennan Johnson, I personally think he's going to move Brennan Johnson more central anyway. So there is a clear path to that right wing, and like you said, he will know Thomas Frank's training, Thomas Frank's methods, Thomas Frank's. He'll be able to also all this noise of player unrest. He can have an ally in there that will put it all to rest and put it all to bed immediately. Like I said, there is a long way to go, and of course, this is Tottenham, and we'll see what happens. And it will be a clear indication for me if something changes. But what he will bring to our team, like I said, Brennan Johnson has got the goals, but his goals involvement, his movement off the ball, is something that our right wing currently doesn't offer. It will be a sensational swoop if we manage to get this off, and what a way to mark the Thomas Frank era.
It will be incredible. The Thomas Frank pull would be something that would be very, very exciting, I think, for everyone. If we were to get someone like Bryan Mbeumo in early, that would be a phenomenal piece of business. And I've been saying to Ben, I feel like personally, given who Frank is and why we brought him in, I do get the feeling that I do get the feeling that we're not going to have a summer where we sign loads of big money signings. That's just the feeling I get. But I also feel like someone like Mbuemo, I think Frank doesn't have to look at the squad or look at the players to know he wants Mbuemo. Mbuemo's one, he knows how good he is. He's managed him before, so that's one we can kind of go for without Frank having to have done an audit of the squad, knowing who he wants to keep or not. He knows that Mbuemo is going to be an upgrade. He knows how good he is and the character and the temperament of him. So I feel like this kind of deal is one that we could go for before pre-season very, very easily.
Yeah, for me, it just ticks all the boxes, isn't it? And a lot of people would have been saying, "Oh, he's come here to work on a budget. He's come here. He's going to just do." Well, this is not going to be a budget signing, is it? This is going to be what you would imagine around about the Solanke and Dembele kind of transfer fee. And like you said, when we've looked at this squad, I'm fully confident that Frank will develop the players and look into them and know his squad. I think we only need 2 or 3 signings. I honestly think we just need 2 or 3 signings, whether it's of this magnitude or just a tier below, and this team has great shape to it. But like you said, everything you said about Mbuemo and being the perfect player for what he needs and what Spurs are lacking, it's the right player, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's a player that will get everyone very, very excited. If there is a possibility we can bring someone like him in, it's super exciting. We need someone with that kind of quality on that right wing, and let's hope that we can. There is truth to it, and we can get it done. There is some suggestion, I think, mainly from Man United fans, that is this Brentford leaking this to the media to try and drive up Man United's or hurry Man United up in terms of their kind of money, the deal they're trying to do, trying to get more money out of them, trying to basically claim that Tottenham are interested to try and get United to panic and put the money on the table. Do you think that's true, or do you think there is genuine interest from Tottenham?
Do you know what? We've been used so many times in that kind of thing, haven't we? Where we put the money in and it snaps someone into reality. Could it be that again? I really hope. Do you know what? If it hadn't had the Thomas Frank and Mbuemo office connection, I would have been feeling exactly the same. But I just think with it being Thomas Frank confirmed there, I think there is a lot to this. Whether Spurs can get it over the line is the big question. But we're going to have to wait and see how this develops. But you can't deny when you mentioned that could this be Man U trying to get Brentford trying to get Man U to come to the table quicker? There's every possibility it could be. But I just think with the Thomas Frank pull, there could be more to it than meets the eye.
100%. Well, let's see if this Bryan Mbeumo hijack will kind of snowball over the next few days. There definitely seems to be a few more reports coming out over the last few minutes since Sky Sports have been breaking the news. Seems as though more and more outlets will have to concede, maybe not the most reliable outlets, but some outlets are definitely jumping on the back of it, confirming the story. But we'll have to wait and see if there is any truth to it. We'll move on to the next story, talking about Mathis Tel. Bayern director Mathis Tel has said on Mathis Tel that we're speaking to Tottenham. That's no secret, and we'll see what happens. So it looks as though we are very clearly intent on bringing Mathis Tel back to Tottenham. I think that has been the word ever since the summer has the season ended, that we're quite serious in bringing him back. If we do get an Mbuemo, and we obviously sign and we sign Tel, who's obviously more of a young up-and-coming potential guy, whereas Mbuemo's ready now, would it be easier to stomach getting someone like a Tel, who a lot of people are saying, is he ready? We're not convinced by him, all this kind of stuff. But when you're already getting a ready-made player like Mbuemo, is it easier to, if that happens, is it easier to kind of justify signing a bit of a younger player to balance that out?
I think it is now, and the reason I say that is I was one that said if it was Ange Postecoglou still, that I think we saw it didn't quite work for him in an Ange Postecoglou system. But Thomas Frank can do wonders with development and youth, and I think it's very, very important that we remember Justin. I keep getting his surname wrong. Cochran, the assistant manager, is heavily involved with nurturing the young talent and has done an incredible job with both domestically and internationally. So that's another eye opener. As I said, any signing that comes in, I'm going to be totally and utterly fine with. If Thomas Frank says he wants to try Mathis Tel and he's seen something in him, then so be it. But I think it's definitely going to be easier to swallow for people, knowing that someone like an Mbuemo, if he does come through the door, is there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mathis Tel has a lot of potential, and I think, for me anyway, I think he got a bad rap from the Tottenham fans. I think a lot for his performances since he's come in. I think he has shown stuff. I know a lot of people saying he doesn't show anything. I don't agree. Now the reality is he has shown just flashes. It's not been consistent, high quality performances. I concede that. But people forget how young he is, and people forget he's coming to a new league in a very difficult environment, given how many injuries and all these things we had, right? And he's playing a lot of the time in his second team. He's playing out of position sometimes. So for me, I think what he showed, if you actually look at some of the stuff he was showing, a lot of it was actually quite impressive given the circumstances, but people will overlook that because, it wasn't incredible. It wasn't like, wow, blowing everyone away, when it was very hard to do that under those circumstances. I think for me, he showed enough to kind of re-sign him. Obviously not for that money that we originally agreed, which was like 60 million. I think obviously, no way we pay that. But if we get a good deal for him, I think that's a player right in the right environment, and given now he's had that 6 months to acclimatize, we could really be seeing the benefits of that next season. And I wouldn't want to just chug that all away because he wasn't at his very best since we brought him in. I think that's very short-sighted in my opinion. So I'd be very happy and open to bring him in, and I think it'd be a good signing. And if we get Mbuemo, I think all of a sudden you got Son, Tel, Odebed, Johnson, and Mbuemo. Those are some very good options. Some very good options there.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned this a few times. I'll mention it again. I didn't get to see Tel a lot live like you would have done. I only got to see him in that really poor Wolves performance at Molineux. And when I was there, the one thing that impressed me the whole game was Mathis Tel's movement off the ball and the amount of times he was available, but Spurs didn't really find him or went forward or backward. His movement really, really impressed me the one time I've seen him live. But obviously, when he has been available and got into certain positions, he needs to brush up on a few things to develop, but that's because he's young. But the movement I saw from him off the ball really impressed me, because I got to see, obviously, when you're watching it on TV, the cameras don't show the movement of the other players. His movement was exceptional that day. Really, really was. But obviously, he needs to deliver more. And as you said, he's a very, very young talent. Maybe a coach can get better out of him and do more with him, especially in the different systems that we're playing and the different approach. We may see something from Mathis Tel that we didn't. Like I said, the price is going to have to be lowered, isn't it? It was 50 or something to begin with. I think Spurs are talking 35 or around that. So we shall see. We shall see. But like I said, that Wolves game impressed me with his movement, and that was about that.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of quality there. I think people got to just give him another chance, be a bit more patient. And I think Frank's the perfect guy for him. I really do. I think Frank's going to really like him. Come on. Talking a bit more on Thomas Frank, a few reports coming out yesterday in regards to the job he's got on his hands. Gary Jacob has been saying among Thomas Frank's first tasks at Tottenham as Tottenham manager will likely be talking to Son and Romero about their futures. And he also says Tottenham have been looking at a possible centre-back, defensive midfield and winger signings. The Athletic report that Frank was desperate to bring Archie Gray to Brentford. He was seen as a generational talent in defensive midfield by Brentford. So Gray could be a beneficiary of Frank's arrival at Tottenham. It's interesting about that. We'll get into the Romero and Son stuff in a bit, but it says he wants a centre-back, defensive midfielder and winger. Now, he's saying that, but he was saying he wanted Gray at Brentford because he saw him as a generational talent in defensive midfield. Mm-hmm. So, with Bentancur already here as well, obviously Bissouma might be leaving, but you got Bentancur there. And supposedly you got a generational talent in defensive midfield. Is he really going to push about out for another 6 if Bentancur's staying?
It's a great question. I think he can see Archie Gray as a real talent, as he's been mentioned, and it clearly shown by wanting him at Brentford. Maybe the development needs to be this year, where he's not the main number 6, and there is someone that comes, whether it be a loan, or this is why someone like the age of a Paulinho might be a smart move, get him in on loan or a 2-year contract to help Archie Gray learn that position. And then we go from there. I think Archie Gray is a good player, a very good player. Delighted when we signed him, as we did a video together. But is it too soon? He didn't look very comfortable in midfield in a Ange Postecoglou system, did he? But we all know that was without playing a 6, where Thomas Frank does see Archie Gray. So Archie Gray must be rubbing his hands together right now. Maybe really disappointed that Ange has gone, like all the players have said. But knowing a manager that's come in that desperately wanted you at his club beforehand can only be a shot in the arm for positivity, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think Gray, knowing that Frank really wanted him, will be quite encouraged by that and quite happy about that. But it's going to be interesting to see what we do in that position. Does Frank if Frank really wanted a Brentford, as I'm saying, because he's a generational talent, is he going to put his full trust in him and think, I believe in your talent and I'm not going to spend my way out of this problem that we have with you not looking right in last season in that position? I believe that you're more than capable because I wanted you and I think you're a generational talent. And if he does want to sign someone on top of that, does that mean maybe Bentancur and Basuma are leaving? Does Bentancur change his position? Maybe it's more of an 8. We already have Bergvall, we have Sarr in that position, so already there's competition. So I don't know how we combat that issue. If he really believes in giving Gray that opportunity, which I think he might well do.
You know what? So when you look at it, us as Spurs fans will all sit here and say we need a monster number 6 or a number 6, whatever word you want to use around it. To us, that seems like the essential, and it needs to be a big, well-known player. Maybe he sees something in the way he's going to play, and maybe as much as the number 6 is important to us, maybe he does feel that there is one there ready, and it's not as big a necessity in Thomas Frank's eyes than it is in our eyes. But I think we need someone to help Archie and show him the ropes. I really do, for his development. But if Thomas Frank sees him and says, right, you're going straight in there, happy days.
That's going to be very interesting. In terms of, winger, centre-back, obviously Mbuemo would be the winger, wouldn't it? Potentially with maybe Tel as well. That would be that covered. And then a centre-back obviously depends on Romero. Now, that obviously depends on the future of Romero and Son, which we've been chatting about. Obviously, Romero, the fallout of his statement yesterday has been there for the last 24 hours. Do we think... I've just read a report that Levy from Master saying Levy does want... there's more reports about Mbuemo to Tottenham.
Okay.
Reading. There's a journalist called Sam Tabutu, who's a Brentford journalist, who's a kind of freelance. He was very much reporting about the Frank to Tottenham news and around the coaches and all that kind of stuff. And he has just posted saying there is truth to Tottenham moving for Bryan Mbeumo. So more heat about Bryan Mbeumo to Tottenham, and maybe we could be getting our man. In terms of Romero, I'm just reading reports saying we do want to kind of get him to sign a deal, but Atletico only want to pay 40 million. I mean, if there is a kind of standoff there, is there any chance he signs a deal, do you think? And is there any chance we sell for anything close to 40?
Signing a deal, I just can't see it now. After, as you said yesterday, people calling it the two-footed tackle, the statement, I don't see a way back for it. I don't. Hopefully, Thomas Frank can have words, and if he wants to keep him, can literally turn him and make Daniel try to give him a new contract. I can't see it personally, but I also, on the other hand, cannot see Daniel Levy letting him go for £40 million. Mm-hmm. Not a chance. This one will develop, but whether people agree with what Romero said and when he said it, he aimed it at the right person. But the thing is, you can say, was the timing a little bit silly, which I would agree with. The comments, I strongly agree with. It's the timing, but how do you come back from that?
Yeah, that's the interesting part, isn't it? Especially if the owner ain't going anywhere, is he? So I can't think...
Conte did that. Look what happened. Harry Redknapp did that. Look what happened. So I just can't see anything else changing in that. I just can't see how he comes back from it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if off the back of that, Levy's giving him a new contract, to be honest. I mean, I'd be shocked. Obviously, Levy will want to protect his asset and the value. But, Levy is known to be sometimes a bit butthurt by these things. And I wouldn't be surprised if off the back of that statement, he's like, you know what, this guy can just go. I don't really... obviously, he's going to want good money for him, don't get me wrong. But and he might make it a painful process, but I think he would probably want him out the door, knowing Levy. So I'd be surprised if I would be shocked, sorry, if Levy is willing to give him a new improved deal and kind of wanting him to stick around if he's saying that stuff publicly, because who knows when he can kind of say that again. It's like a ticking time bomb if for Levy, when you think about it that way. But look, I've also heard that the whole thing about Romero leaving if Ange leaves was overblown. That's what I've heard as well, and it was maybe made too much out of, and there is a chance he stays. So I've heard that, but I don't know how much truth there is.
If we sign Mbuemo and Kuti signs a new contract, Daniel Levy's days are numbered, and there is definitely 100% something happening higher up than we are all being led to believe. I mean, the things keep rolling and building about these rumours about investment or a takeover. If Mbuemo signs and Romero signs a new contract, there is 100% something going on.
Okay, talking about some other quotes. We're talking about Antonio Conte. He was talking to Sky Italy yesterday about his time at Tottenham, and he said that it was a difficult year at Tottenham. I arrived in November with them in ninth, the standings in the ninth in the standings, and we ended up in the Champions League, overtaking Arsenal. And you know the rivalry between the two clubs. For them, going to the Champions League was like winning the Premier League. On the last day, the Champions League entry was celebrated in the dressing room, and I called my staff and told them, we don't get used to these celebrations. You don't celebrate these things. We are okay. We are used to celebrating other things. Okay, great feat, but at the same time, we understand what kind of celebration it is. So kind of calling out Tottenham for having the mentality of top four in Champions League is like a trophy. And obviously, you know, given what's happened last season where we did actually win a trophy, and we celebrated like it was, but the manager obviously lost his job over it. It's quite poignant, I feel, those kind of quotes from Conte.
Yeah, I mean, Conte's always been one for that, isn't he? Where fourth is not good enough. It's got to be like he's just done in Italy, winning a title. He's made a career of doing it everywhere he goes, except for us. And like Jose, he won't mix his words, will he? He won't mix his words. He's come out and said this again, but he's got a point. But the one thing is, this time, like you said, we did win a trophy, and we did celebrate. And because of winning that trophy, we have gone into Champions League. So I would rather do it a Cup, a Europa League, and Champions League entry this way. Take the league out of it rather than finish fourth and have nothing. So it's great to be able to celebrate this trophy. I plan to do it all summer. But like Jose, he's always going to be fast to have a comment like this, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. That's classic Conte. And I think, look, obviously we want to celebrate trophies at this football club. We don't want to celebrate fourth place. But clearly that's kind of the aim, isn't it, right now at Tottenham, is this fourth place finish and trying to get, you know, but look, we also understanding that 17th, that's not acceptable.
Correct.
But also, if Andrew would have finished fourth last season with no trophy, he would have kept a job, wouldn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt whatsoever. That's how this club operates.
Mm-hmm. So, which is, you know, telling. And finally, in terms of the update, Carl Walker was talking on his podcast yesterday, and he claims that he would have given up one of his Premier League trophies to have won the Europa League with Tottenham. He said in his podcast yesterday. And he said, watching that game, he's never been more nervous watching. And he said he wasn't even playing in it. He said he hasn't felt as nervous as that in a long time watching a game of football. And he says he would give up one of his Premier League trophies to have won that Europa League. And that probably also goes to show what a big deal it's seen, not just by Tottenham fans, but also outside of Tottenham. Obviously, he was at Tottenham for many years, and he was there and never won anything. And he was obviously a big fan favourite at the time, and unfortunately, he did end up leaving. But What do you make of those quotes from Kyle Walker? You'd give up a Premier League trophy to have won that. And do you think Harry Kane feels the same?
Well, give up his Bundesliga. Yeah? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if he came out now and said that? I'll give up my Bundesliga. That wouldn't go down particularly well in parts of Germany. It's lovely to hear Kyle Walker say that, and obviously you hear the players saying watching the game is so much more nerve-wracking than obviously being on the pitch and being able to have a part in it. Nice for him to give up one of his Premier Leagues. He should give up a couple of more. And but it's always nice to hear that. He's always got Tottenham in his heart. You've got to remember, he left Tottenham because he wanted to move further north and be closer to his family in Sheffield. It wasn't one of these, I want to go win trophies. Obviously, he's gone and won everything, but it was because he wanted to be closer to home. Fair play to him for saying it. And he's got a very, very close bond with us, hasn't he?
He does. And I thought it was very, very interesting, kind of what he was saying, Kyle Walker. And yeah, I wish he could have won a trophy at us. It never really happened. But yeah, like it's interesting. I can't think ever that Kane would say something like that publicly. Now, I guess it's a bit different. He's only won one. I guess Walker has, 4 Premier League trophies? 5? I think 4.
Yeah.
So maybe when you've got 4, it's easier to say that.
Cup, Champions League, everything.
It's probably easier to say it.
Also, you'd say that Kyle Walker is nearing the end of his career. And those kind of things could be said. Harry Kane will probably still be playing for a good few years more. So maybe there's something in that. But yeah,
he was also saying like how much, like the reason why he's also saying it is because he knows how much it means to the club and what a big deal it is to win that trophy. So he would really have loved to have been a part of that.
Oh, I'm sure. Like I said, I'm sure Kane would have, but he's not going to say it at the moment with his one trophy. But it is lovely to hear players that have played for this club, and Kyle Walker's part of a team that really should have gone on to win silverware in the trophy drought earlier, but they didn't. But it's always lovely to see.
All right, that is all for today's Tottenham update. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of all of today's stories. I know Brian is on limited time, but